Even after putting on such a dominating display of fighting, Jack Hermansson was kind enough to apologize to Chris Curtis after he accused him of running away the entire fight. Honestly speaking, we don't think Jack should have apologized because, number one, he won the fight, and number two, Chris doesn't deserve an apology after having his game picked out. Keep watching this video as we tell you everything that happened between the middleweights. First up, a masterclass. We're not really sure why Jack felt the need to apologize after putting on one of the greatest performances of his career. Did he feel bad for Chris considering he pretty much fought like an amateur? We're not sure, but you can tell that Jack really respects his opponents regardless of what they say. Curtis thinks that Jack ran away from him the entire fight, and that's not good sportsmanship. If you're in a fight, then fight. Don't run away from punches and takedowns. And that makes complete sense. Like, not even the fans want to see two grown men chasing each other inside a cage. But frankly speaking, Hermansson didn't run at all. Believe it or not, he destroyed Curtis. He was in constant motion. During the entire fight, Jack was either evading or striking him. Low kicks, high kicks, elbows, jabs, takedowns. He pretty much showed he's championship material. And what makes his performance a masterclass is that it was all constant. He may have been evading him, but he didn't even rest for a single second. The conditioning and stamina of this guy is just mind-blowing. Also, you have to understand that Chris didn't even try adjusting to the pace Jack was bringing. In situations when your opponent is dissecting every move you make, you're supposed to impose your will. Chris shouldn't have just ran after him or something. He should have held his ground. He should have made Jack bring the fight to him. But if he isn't willing to change according to the situation and keeps falling into his traps the entire fight, then it's super petty to accuse Jack of running away. Anyway, Jack is a true gentleman. Even though he won the fight, he went in to shake his opponent's hand after the fight. And what did he get? A middle finger. Talk about sportsmanship. If there's anyone who should be apologizing, it should be Chris. Next, it's called strategy. A little wake-up call for Chris. It's not running away, it's actually called strategy. The whole purpose of evading him was to get him frustrated. And the fact that he gave a middle finger when the result was announced shows that Jack stuck to the plan. During the post-fight press conference, Jack talked about how it was his entire plan to frustrate Curtis. He wanted to get in his head, and that's exactly what he did. Because no matter what you do inside the cage, at the end of the day, a win is a win. And it wasn't actually the running around and evading he apologized for. It was actually for losing his cool. Hermansson told the press how Curtis was taunting him throughout the fight. You know, the good old jaw locking. But at one point during the fight, it got to Jack, and he let a few words of appreciation slip his tongue as well. And for that, he apologized. Talking to the press, he said that it's in his best interest to keep the sport clean, and that he is all about sportsmanship. If you ask us, Chris got what he deserved. Because, first of all, he should also show some sportsmanship and apologize for talking smack. Secondly, isn't Dana going to do anything about that middle finger? Like, millions of people tune in to watch the UFC. You can't just have guys giving middle fingers because they lost a fight. Talk about being a sore loser. We are 100% sure that Jack would have shook his hand even if he had lost the fight. So if we're talking about complete destruction, Curtis got his behind handed to him. Not only did he get outclassed, but what he did was pretty bad for his image. And he still got an apology for it. Guess who looks like the bad guy? Just goes to show you how big of a person Jack is and how bad Chris must look right now. And now for fresh blood. Jack Hermansson still has a long way to go in the division. Not only is it full of monsters, but there's a lot of fighters he'd have to wipe out before he can even be considered as a contender. But this marks the start of his journey. He's finally been able to register a win following a loss back in February against Sean Strickland. In the same press conference, Jack talked about how he can't wait to exchange blows with the big guys. You know, Robert Whittaker and Paulo Costa. Because there's no way we can even consider him to go up against some like Alex Pereira or Israel Adesanya. He still needs to prove his worth before he starts to get the big fish. But Hermansson isn't new to titles or something. He actually knows what it takes to be a champion. He's held middleweight belts in both the Cage Warriors and Warrior Fighter Series promotions. Anyway, even though he isn't as popular as his counterparts, he's still a dominant fighter who knows how to put on a show. We're guessing we'll be seeing a lot of him in the near future. Time for some more on the the UFC. Next up, they're not serious. About a month or two back, Floyd hit up Conor and challenged him to fight again inside a boxing ring for a rematch worth $1 billion. Now, Mayweather might be the money man of the boxing world, but when it comes to the UFC, no one understands money as well as the Irishman. McGregor was ready off the bat. He's already training with boxing gloves, so why not? Win or lose, who even cares? It's all about the money, right? And that's how these exhibition fights usually are. It's just good business. But it's sort of weird how whenever a UFC fighter is involved in good business, Dana White tends to get jealous. It's like he doesn't want his fighters going out and making the paycheck of a lifetime. When asked about the fight, Dana said it was complete. He said that all these guys do is talk on social media, and it's gonna stay till that. There's going to be no rematch worth $1 billion. Someone please remind Dana that he's not dealing with a puppet he can control. He's talking about Mystic Mac, the guy who brought big money to the UFC. It'll be interesting to see how Conor reacts to this. Anyway, some people still think this is all a business move since Dana wants to cash whatever is left of McGregor. Let's talk about bad treatment. Now, we have our differences with Dana, and if you've watched our videos in the past, you probably know why we are always calling him out for not paying his fighters enough moolah. But come on, the guy has done a lot for the UFC, and he deserves respect. So when we heard how he was treated by the WWE when Ronda Rousey made her debut, we were absolutely furious. Apparently, Dana was given really bad tickets to the show. When Ronda won her debut fight, the cameraman tried to zoom in on Dana, but he had to climb like 20 rows back just to get a good shot. It's like they gave him normal tickets or something, like at least give the man some VIP tickets. Personally, we thought it was like 20 or 25 rows back, but Dana claimed the cameraman had to climb over like 75 people, and even then he had to zoom in because he couldn't get to him. Anyway, it's still funny how Dana recalls everything bad that happens to him, but meanwhile, he doesn't see how he's basically the UFC's Vince McMahon. Finally, the odds are out. If you like gambling and you've been waiting for the Khamzat versus Diaz odds, then sorry to say, you're not a good gambler. Like, who even needs to know the odds of that fight? Khamzat is the clear favorite. It's gotten to a point where ex-fighters like Dan Hardy are actually calling on people to press charges against the UFC for scheduling such a mismatch of a fight. Anyway, Chimaev is clearly ahead, being a massive negative 1250 favorite going into the fight. Diaz is the underdog, or whatever you'd like to call it, with a plus 800 odds to win the fight. A lot of people claim that the odds aren't right given the popularity Diaz has at the UFC. But that doesn't really matter though, right? Like, you could have millions of people chanting your name, but if you're still going to get beat up at the end of the night, it doesn't really make a difference to bet makers. That's it from our side, folks. So what do you think? Was Jack really running, or is Curtis just trying to make excuses? And should he be punished for giving him the middle finger? Let us know in the comments below. Remember, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more exciting videos in the future. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.